We're going to call open session to order. We're going to start by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone can stand up. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would join me in the mission statement, leading today. Okay, first up, recognition. Dr. Kane, I think.
Just before you go, Dr. Tormala, who will be serving as superintendent of the Wentzville School District, effective July 1, I believe is in the audience. She's back there. Dr. Tormala and family, it's good to see you. Congratulations.
Alrighty, time for some recognitions. Holt High School student Hawk Frederick received the Distinguished Student Leader Award from the Missouri Association of Student Councils. This award recognizes Missouri students who demonstrate superior student council leadership, skills, and knowledge. Hawk has been a member of Holt Student Council for 3 years and currently serves as the president. As the president, Hawk is in charge of watching over the council to ensure that events run smoothly. He is also a member of tennis and golf teams as well as FBLA. In his freshman year, he received the Tribal Leadership Award. Hawk plans to attend Southern Utah University to study business.
Hawk, congratulations. Very proud of you and your accomplishments. Anything you want to say to anyone in the crowd?
I would like to say thank you to my friends and family, especially my mom and dad. They push me every day. And I would also like especially thank Miss Erin Chase. She's the best Stuco teacher ever. She strives for like everybody in the classroom, and she pushes everybody to the next level. She's really a good role model, and I really appreciate her in my life. Thank you.
Congratulations.
The Wentzville School District is proud to recognize Mason Neal from Timberland High School for being named a finalist in the 67th Annual National Merit Scholarship Program. Mason has a weighted GPA of 4.66, is ranked 12th in his class, and scored a 34 on his ACT. Congratulations.
Well, Mason, you did okay on the ACT. Congratulations. Anything you want to say to anyone? That was very decisive and very, very quick. So excited to see what's going to be happening for you in the future. So again, congratulations to you. Let's give him another round of applause.
Up next, 2 Cyber Up teams from Holt High School ranked at the National Linux competition last month. The Holt teams finished 1st and 6th in the nation in this competition. The dynamic duo scored 450 points with 71.74 accuracy, completing 100% of the competition, and the terrific trio scored 395 points with 22.83% accuracy, completing 87.88% of the competition. Holt's team includes in dynamic duo is Alex Bennett, Nolan Hogg, and in the terrific trio is Aiden Klein, Caden Evans, and Oscar Sargent. Congratulations.
Gentlemen, congratulations. Very proud of you. Anything that you want to say to anyone in the crowd? You don't have to, but anything you want to say to anyone in the crowd? They feed you.
I'd just like to say thank you for Mr. Gambles for really pushing us through with this. I was a little lenient at first with doing it, but he really gave me that final push to start doing this. And possibly go into a career of cybersecurity?
I think cybersecurity is needed more now than ever. It's a growing field. It needs a lot more people, and not many people are really going into it. So I think it's amazing our school has a class for it and is getting people interested in it.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Okay, next up, public forum. Guidelines for the public forum are as follows. Each resident of the district requesting time to speak during the public forum will register his or her name, address, and state the issue to be discussed with the recording secretary prior to the meeting being called to order at 6:30. The board president will call the speakers to the floor. Each speaker shall give his or her name and address upon recognition by the president. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes for their presentation unless extended by the board president. If more time is required for presentation, the citizens should consider district policy for placement on the regular meeting's agenda. Due to the possible numbers of speakers during the public forum, the board president may limit or extend the speaking time. If a number of speakers wish to speak on the same topic, the group shall select a spokesperson to present that information. A speaker may address the board only once during the public forum. Speakers may offer such objectives, concerns of the school operations as they deem appropriate. The board will not hear personnel complaints of the school personnel nor against any person connected with the district in the public session. Matters involving personnel shall be discussed by the board in executive session. As an employee of the Wentzville School District, may address the board by the following the public forum guidelines regardless of whether the employee is a resident of the district. So first up, we have Rebecca Messick.
Hello. Okay. I am Rebecca Messick. I am a resident, a parent, a teacher in the district, and I'm also currently serving as the co-president of the Wentzville NEA. I'm speaking tonight to encourage the board to approve the master agreement that will be presented to you later this evening. Earlier this spring, a team of teachers and administrators from within the district, as well as individuals from the board and also the cabinet, came together to discuss concerns and solve problems that are faced by our staff. As a result of our collaboration, we came up with this agreement being presented to you later this evening. It has since also been ratified by our members. This was my 4th year serving on the collaborative bargaining team and working with Dr. Hector and Dr. Kane in this process. And I just wanted to let both of you know that you will be missed next year at the table, and we wish you guys the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Dale Shaper.
President Bice, members of the board. Didn't know what to do tonight, so I thought I'd come to a board meeting. Okay. I'm here tonight to talk about naming of facilities. Back, I guess, about a year ago, I did bring you a name of 2 I thought very well-deserving people. Coach Carter, who initiated our football program from day 1 in our school district, except for Mr. Ransom, who had 2 games prior to that and served as principal, but our first full season was under Coach Carter, as well as Charlie Sims. Charlie Sims was class of 1968. Charlie graduated in that year remained a member of our community. Without his military service, took him away though somewhat for a couple of years there. But my thoughts is we're naming these facilities. I don't think it's a resume. These people are not providing a resume for a job. I don't think we need a committee. I'm going to give you 7 reasons real quick here of people who we've named schools after for what they meant to our school district. First of all, Emil Holt, Holt High School. Mr. Holt was a 19 in our school heritage. They're our high school, a 1941 model school that he brought us a high school. We had a 2-year high school prior to that. Students in this area had to either go to Wright City or St. Charles. Mr. Holt served as the treasurer of our school district for many years. C.H. Jones Auditorium, also at Holt. Mr. Jones passed, returning from a conference, along with board member Hazel Willarding. We honored him by naming an auditorium after him. Mr. Burfield, early childhood development, support staff member, but meant a lot to our students there within our schools, no matter where he was of his early childhood, and served our district well. Carl Reinecker, 24 years on the school board. His children went to St. Patrick's Elementary School to the 8th grade. Carl knew the value of a high school for their children and for the elementary and the middle school for all students in our district. Berry Place, Dr. Ron Berry, Dr. Richard Place in the 90s when the growth started hitting us in the beginning. Kept our achievement levels high, our tax rates low. Let's go to Scott Swafford. We know Scott from Holt. We love our Indians. His passion was for the Wentzville School District and for our football programs. Sergeant Sobolinski, State Highway Patrolman, Sobey Field at Holt. Mr. Sobolinski died working a traffic accident in Warrenton. Before that, we played football to the east side of, I'm talking on Academy, the old high school. We moved to the Fireman's Park. The end zone corners were cut off because it wouldn't fit. We didn't have a football, but yet we could have Friday nights because we had lights. I'll try to be quick, if I could, President Bryce.
You may.
Sobolinski gave us our field on Holt. The members of the community stood up. Once again, I say these people did not have to give a resume. It's what they did. Coach Carter gave to our school district. He was a teacher for many years, was in business in the Wentzville School District, and still lives in our school district. Charlie did pass away about 2 years ago. But Charlie, as we talk about inclusion and diversity, Charlie was inclusion and diversity. He had friends everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Jennifer Hahn.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. King. My name is Jennifer Hahn, and I'm the parent of Charlotte Hahn, a freshman student at Liberty High School. I'm here tonight to ask for your support to create an inclusive cheer squad at the Wentzville School District for students with physical and developmental disabilities. Charlotte was born with a malformation in the portion of the brain that controls balance and motor coordination, causing her to experience physical and developmental disabilities. She was also born with a love for cheerleading. Despite her clear disadvantage from her disability, the Wentzville School District leaders required that Charlotte be judged in tryouts for cheerleading the same as her typical peers. She has bravely tried out for the Liberty cheerleading squad for 2 consecutive years, knowing that her chance of being selected for the squad were slim. She was cut from the squad both years. I am here tonight to advocate for Charlotte and other students with disabilities. Charlotte has overcome many challenges secondary to her disability, but it continues to stand in the way of her ability to excel in athletics such as cheerleading. Charlotte's disability has also challenged her ability to make true friendships with her peers. Having the opportunity to participate in an inclusive cheerleading squad would potentially remove those barriers. The American Academy of Pediatrics has shown that participation in athletics for students with disabilities promotes inclusion, optimizes physical functioning, and enhances overall well-being. In addition, the Office of Civil Rights implores public schools to find ways to allow students with disabilities opportunities to fully participate in extracurricular athletics due to the important health and social benefits. It is time for the Wentzville School District to meet the need for students like Charlotte. Today, I'm presenting to you a solution to this problem that would benefit students with and without disabilities. Generation Spirit is a nonprofit organization that has implemented inclusive cheerleading squads for over 250 schools across the U.S., including 9 schools in the St. Louis area. Their model is student-led and provides abundant opportunities for inclusion for students with disabilities, in growth and leadership and friendship for all students who participate. Generation Spirit squads align with the Wentzville School District's mission to learn and lead. They also provide all training and financial support for schools that implement the program. I sent an email with a link to Generation Spirit's organizational page and a brief video explaining more about the program to each of you last week. I hope you have had the opportunity to reflect how Generation Spirit could promote an inclusive culture in the Wentzville School District and in the community. Students like Charlotte should be supported and encouraged to participate in athletics and connect with their peers. Generation Spirit has provided a model for success. Your leadership on the Board of Education can create a culture of inclusion in the Wentzville School District if you partner with Generation Spirit. I invite you to listen to the next speaker for this evening, whom I hope you call Charlotte. She's my daughter.
Thank you. Charlotte Hahn.
Good evening. My name is Charlotte Hahn, and I am a 9th grade student at Liberty High School. I have recently tried out for the JV Liberty High School cheer team this year and the freshman team last year and did not make the cheerleading squad both times. I want to share with you how this impacted me. I want to be a cheerleader at Liberty High School because I love all things cheer. Stunting, being at games, making new friends, and being athletic. My disability is cerebellar hypoplasia, makes it more of a challenge for me to do some things that other students can do. Cerebellar hypoplasia is a condition in which the cerebellum isn't fully developed. When I was younger, it was hard for me to even do the simplest things like walking. After years of physical therapy, I finally took my first independent steps at age 3. I continued to have a lot of physical therapy, occupational therapy, and aquatic therapy when I was younger. Even though I don't do therapy anymore, dancing and cheerleading remain a form of therapy for me. It took a lot of courage to go through the tryout process for cheerleading, knowing that it was challenging for me. Even though I didn't make the cheer squad, that didn't stop me from wanting to keep trying to find a way to be part of the school with cheerleading. I would like the Wentzville School District to create an inclusive cheerleading squad at Liberty High School. Being able to cheer at Liberty High School would mean the world to me, especially if it meant that I would get to do it with my friends and others. I would finally feel like I'm part of the team and especially the school. It would for sure boost my confidence and open the door to a new me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Jen Olson.
My name is Jen Olson. I want to start by congratulating Katie and Julie on their election win. I wish you both success in your duties to the parents, children, and staff in this district. Next, Again, your monthly reminder that board policies 0412 and 1431 are intimidating, discriminatory, and violate the First Amendment. These policies require revision in order to avoid further violation. I recently sat down with the AG's office and a representative from Senator Hawley's office to discuss this matter. These folks are very well versed in the law and the case law that I've provided to this board. They've advised me without a shadow of a doubt that any content-based restrictions in a limited public forum that prohibit speakers from naming a board member, staff, another community member, or anyone on God's green earth are unconstitutional. Please understand that just because all the other school districts are doing it doesn't mean it's lawful. If everyone jumped off a bridge, would you follow suit then? Now I would like to tell you about an incident that occurred a couple weeks ago on Picture Day at Journey Elementary. But first, here's a little background information. The daughter of a friend of mine has been repeatedly harassed and assaulted by a boy in her class. Last year, he cut her hair off in the middle of class, all of it. My friend requested that this boy not be in the same class with her daughter anymore, but the school decided not to respect her wishes. The boy didn't receive a suspension, detention, or any consequence for what he did to this little girl. Cutting a little girl's hair is assault. Nobody seemed to care. This traumatized the little girl, and she was nervous in fear of him doing it again. Fast forward to Picture Day a few weeks ago. The same boy that cut her hair pushed her down into a mud puddle, leaving her filthy and soaking wet on Picture Day. Anyone who is a female or has female children understands that something like this can be extremely traumatizing for a girl. She was so filthy and soaked that she had to go to the nurse's office where they supplied her with a change of clothes to include underwear. After my friend's daughter was once again assaulted by this boy, mortified, and forced to put on someone else's clothes and underwear, she was just sent back to class. No phone call was made to her parents. Our school policy states that parents are to be notified of these incidences as soon as possible, or at the latest by the end of the day. Even if something like this happened by accident, there should have been a phone call to let the parents know why their minor child would be coming home with someone else's underwear on. There's no excuse. Our children do not belong to the district. We are their parents. And if you are sending our kids home with different underwear on, a simple phone call to let us know why is the least of your responsibilities to us and our children. Please look into the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. That will conclude public forum. Next up, consent agenda. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. The items that were amended to old business is 11.34 and new business 11.34 and 11.36.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Ayes have it. Motion passes. Next up, superintendent's report.
Thank you,
Dr.
President.
King.
Thank you, President Bryce. We will have two presentations, both the Parents as Teachers and Barfield Early Childhood Special Education program evaluations. Kevin and Melissa will introduce themselves, and here we go.
Hi, I'm Melissa Lamb, and I am here as the coordinator for the Wentzville Parents as Teachers program.
Hello, my name is Kevin Garcia. I'm the principal of the Barfield Early Childhood Special Education Center.
Thank you for the opportunity tonight. We're going to start with our missions. So Parents as Teachers mission statement is to provide the information, support, and encouragement and parents need to help children develop optimally during the crucial early years of life.
And our mission at the Barfield Early Childhood Center is to provide a safe and nurturing environment for our students to learn and grow. Ultimately, the goal is kindergarten readiness. So we want to foster language, we want to foster cognition, physical development, and social development.
This slide is just a few of our activities that we have gotten the opportunity to do with our families this year. It includes some kindergarten screenings and some of our group connections that our parents have enjoyed getting back to some sense of normalcy this school year with being able to bring their children out and participate in activities. So our programming by the numbers. So for the 21-22 year-to-date parents as teachers enrollment, as of last week, we had 2,595 families. 849 of those families exhibit at least one at-risk characteristic, and for a total of 3,305 children enrolled in our program.
I think the point Melissa made about things getting back to normal is pretty important. Our numbers are starting to approach pre-COVID levels this year. And the reason we're presenting together is that we rely heavily on referrals from parents as teachers. So we have a really close working relationship. The more children she identifies and sends to Barfield, the more kids we can help. So it's
a partnership.
Should preface this, I guess. In terms of our program by the numbers, this is a snapshot, and we are still adding students. So this is truly, the number is going to grow by the end of this school year. But right now, 315 ECSE students, or children who qualify for special education services at Barfield. In addition to those students, we have 166 typically developing students, and those families pay tuition for their child to attend. Of that 166 of our gen ed population, 32 were referred to us from parents and teachers for scholarships or assistance so they could attend. And that those numbers represent 21 physical classrooms. We have a half-day program, so that's really double that in terms of actual classes taught. So it's hard to give you guys snapshots because we do so many varied activities at Barfield, but I picked a couple like kindergarten-esque opportunities for you to see. So we do whole group instruction, we do small group instruction, but remember our goal ultimately is kindergarten readiness, so I thought like whole group instruction with all the kids, engaged and seeing the teacher would be emblematic what we ultimately hope to achieve by the end of their tenure with us.
So performance on our goals year to date. So far this school year, Parents as Teachers has completed 2,040 screenings, and from which 452 referrals were generated, and 280 generated referrals to Barfield Diagnostic Department. 198 full case study evaluations, and 82 speech-only evaluations. And we still are currently screening and have identified even more students to send to Barfield even this week. Surprise.
Yeah, no. So the key there is that in order to qualify for services, there has to be a full evaluation. The screenings are a brief assessment that gives insight to the diagnostic team whether or not that evaluation is required, because that's labor intensive and time consuming for the parents to bring the child to our school. So we don't want to have that be implemented if not necessary. So it's really good work. They give us good leads, basically. And just in totality, it's 481 students have been educated at Barfield thus far. And as I said, 315 of those students receive special education services, and 166 are the gen ed population, and most of those parents are paying tuition.
A few accomplishments. For fiscal year 2020-2021, Parents as Teachers received $169,673 over their original allocation amount. 75% of our DESE allocation provides services to high needs families. Parents as Teachers provided professional development to many programs in schools within the Wentzville School District, and those topics included inclusion, poverty, and brain architecture. And Parents as Teachers continues our work as a community co-leader with the Preschool Development Grant, and that focuses on inclusion and kindergarten readiness for all students in our county. And then together with Barfield, our parent groups resumed, so we partner together at least one time per month for parent groups, and we also have created an online catalog so those parents have access to those videos and online groups at any time. So we're constantly referring our families to those, even though those events had passed.
A word on those groups, they're only possible because we have a facility that makes it feasible. Prior to coming to our new building, like it's not as new anymore, but we had notions of doing things like this, but the physical demands of having that environment were preventing us from doing programmatic things we knew we wanted to do. So having the facility is critical in terms of programming we can provide. So a little plug there, Dr. King. So as I said, this year in working with parents and teachers, we've had the most number of students who qualify for scholarship. And we're both really proud of that because those are kids who would not have the opportunity to participate in early education, and they probably need it more crucially. So I would like to, we both would love to increase that number, but our priority must be to the special education students. That's what our mission is ultimately. So it's always a game of adjusting numbers to make sure that we hit our targets for the kids who have the identified delays to the process of evaluation. We had to, one positive that came from COVID, we had to do a contactless registration. We do registration in March or late February, depending upon how the calendar breaks down. Enrollment at Barfield is not guaranteed. It's an annual process. So we have, you can imagine, a lot of parents. The demand exceeds availability, so we have a lot of parents who get to school. If registration's at 8 o'clock, they'll be there at 6, staged and ready to go. So we, with COVID, we couldn't bring the families into the building, and we developed a contactless process that was really parent-friendly, and feedback was really good, so we actually adopted that, and we're going to use that moving forward, even though hopefully COVID remains in the rearview mirror. So that was one positive from COVID, and that's about the only positive I can think of, actually. And for example, just to put it in real terms, within 5 days of open registration, we're booked completely for next year. So that's a success, but it's a little bittersweet. And then if you have questions, we would love to answer any that you have.
President Bryce, if I may.
Yes.
Ms. Lamb, can you please share with the board about the need for the program in the near future? And Mr. Garcia, you touched upon that in your closing statement, but can you just expand on that a little bit, please?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, so the last couple of years we all know have been very challenging, and that includes our littlest students and kiddos in the district. We have identified many students much earlier this school year through our screening processes, social emotional concerns, or maybe they've been at home for the past 2 years with mom and dad and they've never been in a school situation. So we have these kiddos who are coming up to our elementary schools soon that maybe have never been away from mom or dad, never been in a school setting. Maybe they have never been taught how to hold a pencil or how to cut with scissors. And so we hope to continue to help identify those students early and often. It's just an increase that we've seen a lot this past school year. I know Kevin can attest to that too.
Yeah, well said. The lack of exposure due to the COVID lockdown certainly had a detrimental effect on overall development and school readiness skills for our population. Agreed, a spike in students eligible for social emotional, and those kids are predisposed to struggle. So,
as well as a lot of anxiety. We're seeing a lot of anxiety in the littles, even preschool age. So that's something different that we have not seen until this past school year.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work that you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Bryce. So you've got enrollment, I think you said almost to where pre-COVID levels were. Where was the trough, or where was the bottom at? I think you're at 2,600 families rolled now in parents as teachers. What was the bottom, if you will?
we're a little bit lower than what we were last year, but enrollment is increasing again. I don't know what the
Okay.
bottom number was.
And a further question to that, as it relates to Barfield, we just did enrollment. We filled up in 5 days. Roughly how many had we had to turn away, would you say?
Question I'm posed every year. We're on a wait list of 40 deep at the moment, but in terms of folks that call and our staff inform them we're booked, it's a hard number to know. I'm sorry, I can't give you a good answer.
President Bryce, that's in addition to the it was 4 classrooms that you added, correct? In the past, is it 3 years or 2 years?
That's correct. Yeah, we were happy and fortunate to add those additional wing, which did constitute 4 additional classrooms, and yes, that the enrollment is accounting for those.
Thank you. I appreciate everything you do. My kids have gone through Barfield. Melissa was my children's parent educator, so I've known her for quite some time. I appreciate what you do to identify children that have the need.
Thank you very much.
Any more questions? Thank you, guys.
Up next, we have a special education program review, and Vanessa Fritchie, our Director of Special Education, will lead this conversation.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Fritchie. I'm the Special Ed Director for the district, and I want to thank you for allowing me to come tonight and present my program review for special education. So first, I wanted to start off with a little bit of data that we project a lot of our current growth and where we're headed from. This is information that's collected by the Division of Elementary and Secondary Education every year in December. So this chart is updated as of 2021. And so you can see it talks about the total special education student count. It also talks about our special ed district percentage. And then it also talks to the state's special education percentage. So when I look at that chart that's in the upper left-hand corner, I would see that that's a 5-year comparison. And obviously we have other data before that, but 5 years is typically what we look at. And you can see that we've gained about 340 students in special education over that time frame. But we also know that our district had incredible growth during that time frame as well. So that to me is not, something that would be out of the ordinary. I also look at that district percentage for special education, and while we have seen growth over 5 years, what you can see is that the last 2 years have been exactly the same. So hopefully we have slowed that growth rate that we were headed towards earlier, and it'll be interesting to see where that growth rate is next year. And then the last column is the state's growth rate. So we are above that state growth rate. Obviously, our goal is to maybe slow that, what we're doing, and get back closer to that state growth rate. The graph that's in the bottom right-hand corner is the same information. It's just in a different visual format. It shows over the years what our percentage is in the district versus the state. So that's just what that chart shows on that one. This is also information that we utilize. Now this chart is from 2020 because this information has not been published for the 21 school year yet. But we typically look at our surrounding districts and see where their special education percentage rates are and their counts compared to ours. So in 2020, we were about dead center when you looked at the schools that are in our surrounding area. So that's just another piece of information that we consistently look at. So as far as our successes, and you can flip it again, sorry, Glenn. One of our biggest successes that we continue to see a decrease in our dropout rate for special education students, which is really important to us. We obviously want them to stay with us till they get that graduation diploma. So we dropped again for the 4th year in a row. You can see the green is where the state level is. So that to us is absolutely a success. Some additional successes that we've experienced this year with the help of the Human Resources Department, we have had a big push to change our paraprofessional adult support positions into instructional assistants. And I know that for some that's kind of a hard thing to understand, but for us in Wentzville, a paraprofessional is not allowed to be alone with a student. They have to be supervised at all times, which kind of ties our hands as far as flexibility and working with students. They're also not allowed to provide that instruction. They can kind of help facilitate, but we need those adults at times to be able to provide some instruction to those students. Obviously, the instruction being geared from the teacher, but we need that support in those smaller groups. So with HR support, we went out to our paraprofessionals, and they've been able to change their positions either through taking a state test or getting enough college credits to be able to provide or apply for their sub certificate. So we've seen about a 56% change in those positions, which has really helped our special education population. And it also assists us with being able to gain people that want to come into those positions, because at this point in time, our paraprofessionals and our IAs are not paid on the same scale. So it really helps us gain some great applicants. Another success that we had is that we've been able, with our special education leadership team, to provide the most structured professional development for special ed since the 2018-2019 school year. And that was a big push this year. It's not to the point that we want it to be. Continuing growth is where we're headed, but that is a really great step for this year. I talked about the continued dropout rate decrease. We also improved our ability to predict staffing needs early. In the past, special education staffing need has always been pushed to the very end of the school year, which unfortunately takes away good applicants from us. And so this year we were able to make that prediction at the same time that our general education staff was making those movements, which allowed us to be able to post those positions and really gain some good applicants at that point in time. And lastly, we were able to create and continue to analyze some systems and processes within our special ed department and be able to provide clear guidance to our special education staff. So we're always looking at data and looking to analyze where we've been and where we're headed. So that's always one of our goals. Our goals for next school year is that we want to obviously continue to provide that professional development and build those structures in for our staff. We'd like to be able to implement a structure to provide appropriate support in the area of transition. So that's talking about our students who are going to leave high school and transition out into real world, and how we give them vocational opportunities as well as connect them to the outside resources that they may need in order to make that a smooth transition. We also want to continue to decrease the area of disproportionality. That's something that DESE, or Division of Education, has identified for us, so we want to be able to continue to decrease that. We want to be able to continue to analyze that staffing need and also make sure that we're able to do adjustments to ensure equity across all of our buildings and all of our thresholds. And then lastly, working in collaboration with the Teaching and Learning Department to start working on some of our curriculums for our special education classes. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those.
President Bryce. As it relates to goal 4, I think we've done some things as we've migrated from moving from 6th grade being in elementary school to the middle schools. Could you just speak to some of the staffing, things that we've done there? I think it's a positive as we looked at like caseloads last year and how we're thinking about it, going forward, and what we did as we make that transition.
So again, because we were able to make those staffing projections early, we were able to make some of those movements to the middle school and help really kind of stabilize. Our hope and goal is that this can be the last huge shift as far as, special education. It's really hard whenever we have to continue those shifts because stabilization isn't there. We, move kids from the elementary to the middle school, and then we're moving staff too, so we want to try and stabilize that and get that as consistent as possible. We have worked really hard across all of the elementaries that when we moved staff out of those buildings, we made sure that we left them with a base continuum so that they know that they can go in and have the full continuum in that building, which is important.
Any more questions?
I do have a question. Do you partner with any of the schools that have, I know Maryville has a rehabilitation counseling program. Do you partner with any of the schools with students to help the transition process and in hooking students up with agencies in the community?
So we have we have one person at our high school level that's all her job is to maintain those relationships. So she has a lot of relationships, and I can't speak to whether or not that is one of them that she uses exclusively. But her whole entire job is connecting families to regional, to DDRB, to any of the vocational programs. And so she really spends her time doing that. And then her job is also to educate all of the high school teachers in that here's a student that could need this, and here's when we need to start doing this process. She started pushing down to the middle schools this year because what we found is that some of those middle school students need to be connected even earlier than high school. So that was a big push. She and my high school process coordinator come up with a plan to really make sure that we're facilitating that. One of the things that we found this year is that some of our students are staying past their graduation cohort class were not as connected as they needed to. So if we're going to keep those students here extra years because they need that extended time, we need to make sure that they are fully connected with those community resources. So, thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Facility Naming Committee. I had this added to the agenda. We had two board members who are no longer on the board that were on this committee. I don't want to see this die. I think this is very important. I think it's a good part of the district's history. And I volunteer myself to be on this committee, and I was looking to see if there was anyone else that would like to volunteer to be on the committee. Aaron Abbott?
I volunteer.
Okay, that worked out well. Is there anyone else that would like to join us?
Excuse me, President Bryce. I just wanted to clarify for our new board members, this isn't really, it's not a committee to name facilities, it's really just to establish the process. So, moving forward, if someone wants to recommend, someone for naming some sort of facility, that we have a process in place that we can utilize.
President Bryce. And I think to also clarify, this isn't a board-directed committee. This is, from a cabinet perspective, we have board participation on this committee. Is that fair? Getting head nods.
Okay, next up, new business. We need a motion to approve the bills for payment of April 2022 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I think Aaron had this pulled.
I just needed it for a separate vote.
Okay. Catherine? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion passes.
I abstain.
One abstain. Next up, change order 14. We need a motion to approve the South Middle School change order 14 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. We'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes. Next up, change order 16. We need a motion to approve the North Point Middle School change order 16 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next up, WNEA agreement. We need a motion to approve the WNEA agreement as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing no.
Jennifer, anything?
Please, thank you. I can't see. Here you are. I also want to thank the NEA for their hard work. when we first started this together, we were not doing collaborative bargaining, and we decided mutually that we were going to focus on mutual interests instead of positions, and that we were going to find our way to where we were really talking about issues and really being able to have open and real problem solving together around the issues that face our certified staff. And we've been able to do that successfully. And we've had another successful year this year together. And so I just want to acknowledge their work and thank them for their hard work on this agreement.
Thank you for that. Is there any more discussion?
President Bryce? So I sat in this negotiation, and one of the things that I want to highlight, it's in the packet, it's in the back of the agreement. One of the things that was brought to us as it relates to a concern or an issue, which is not unique to Winsfield, certainly as it relates to education as a whole, but how can we make the culture climate changes that will retain quality educators? And I think we even further that in the dialogue around, it's not just educators, it's our support staff, it's our transportation, it's everything. And so there was a lot of really good dialogue about ideas around that, what it means to do that. And I just wanted to call to the board's attention, just being the board representation on the negotiation, that the collective group agreed that we would work as a leadership team with our new superintendent, with potential board members, staff of all the various unions and membership, to look at a committee to do that, to actually put a focus and an emphasis on how we create a culture for our staff so that you want to be here. They actually look at the very top of this, it says "We Are Winsfield" campaign. And I think some of my language in that discussion was, what makes us excited to be here? What makes us Winsfield? And whether it's COVID or the growth, I think that the sentiment is some of that is lost. And there's an opportunity here with the changes that we've seen, to Garcia's point about maybe COVID in our rearview mirror, that this is a great opportunity to move forward. And so I was really excited for this dialogue and am excited to participate in the solutions to that issue, and just wanted to bring that to the board's attention.
Thank you, Vice President Goodson. Any more comment? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next up, we need a motion to approve the RFP cybersecurity program as presented.
So moved. Second.
Jason, I believe you
Yeah, I had this one pulled. And I know Greg's not here, so Dr. Skeeters, I'm going to point this to you. So I think I had posed some questions. Just a brief overview of the RFP process we went through. I know it's in the packet. And in particular, why this firm over other firms, what stood out. I know we did some background checks, reference checks. And then lastly, just kind of combine the whole question into one. I think this is, call it the assessment approval. And then there's some further, potential work that we had in that RFP process that we did, and maybe speak on what we can see as maybe a next step there.
Okay, so a team got together. They met. It included the Director of Technology, the Director of Accounting, and the Director of Purchasing, and they reviewed similar RFPs that would have been submitted by other districts and entities to look and see what kinds of things are they looking for when they are engaging in this process. They then developed the RFP, and it was posted per policy for at least 2 weeks on vendor registry and in the newspaper. That team then reviewed the 10 proposals that were received through the process. They reviewed those proposals against the specs that were included in the RFP, and they narrowed those proposals down to 3. Those three vendors then presented to a team that also included the 3 I mentioned previously, as well as our technology services manager. Those proposals were reviewed against the specs one more time. They reviewed the program and assessment plan that was presented, as well as the personnel of that vendor and the experience of the vendor. In addition, they contacted the references for all 3 vendors. The proposal, presentation, and references led to the selection of the vendor that is presented to you this evening. The reason that we selected this particular vendor is that the proposal matched the specs of the RFP. In addition, they chose to include other value-add items that strengthen their proposal for the district. Their references were excellent, and this vendor has a great deal of experience working with a K-12 institution as well as other entities. We felt like that really, we value that they bring that level of understanding to this process. The next steps are that once the vendor is approved, the assessment process will begin, and they will begin to work through the items contained in the RFP process. As there's not yet a timeline because it's contingent upon the approval. Once the approval happens, the vendor will then create a timeline of work. The areas of focus that are going to be included are everything that's mentioned in this memo. In addition to that, if you look at the proposal from the vendor, it includes the value add items that they opted to include. It is a comprehensive assessment of the district's technology and policies and practices around the use of technology and implementation of technology. They will identify additional best practice recommendations that are based on industry standards that we can choose to adopt as a district that will strengthen the safety and integrity of all of our technology here in the district. That's what I got.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you. Next up, we need, oh, sorry, yep, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Motion passes. Next up, we need a motion to approve the MOU with Kickup as presented.
So moved. Second.
Yeah, I think I had this one pulled too, and I also think Director Stoll, you had some questions you submitted, so if you want to ask your questions, you can as well. But just wanted to have just a quick discussion on how this plans to be used. Like, what are we using, if at all, tools today? And then I think it seemed that there was two things. There was a data point collection around PD, but there's also more of a, I would call it, seemed like an admin type function that we're using for the PD. Maybe just explain those. And then lastly, how that, if it all, comes back to the board. If I think about, what we've approved before in terms of the PD plan and how that lays out, like how will this tool and its related data impact that and what the board will see?
Absolutely. We're pretty excited about Kickup. It's going to take several of the processes and procedures that we currently engage in that are a little bit more on the manual labor side, and they're going to make them far more effective and efficient. So some of the things that this will do for us is it will allow us to track our participation of our teachers in our PD, whether that is PD during our PD days or PD that they are participating outside the district. Right now, we send a Google form, and then we have to compile that data independently. In addition, on our PD days, we send out a survey to measure the effectiveness of our professional learning that we engage in that day. The same process, we use a Google form, and then we're compiling this data. This tool will actually allow us to triangulate the data from the building professional development, the district professional development, and will also give us longitudinal data so we can see how things are trending year after year. We run a number of high quality learning opportunities during the summer for our staff, and this will allow us to run all of our registration for those through there. All professional development requests to attend workshops or conferences outside the district will run through here. We currently use a Google form to do that, so this will simplify that process for us as well. In addition, we are working to, as part of wanting to retain high quality staff, we are working to improve our experience for our new teachers here and the experience for our mentors who support them. And this tool will allow us to more effectively evaluate how well that's going, and will also allow for the new teachers and the mentors to provide us with essential feedback so that we can continue to improve the program. And then finally, a component of this is we have several coaches in our district, and they engage in coaching cycles. We ask them to keep track of the coaching cycles that they are participating in, the kinds of work they are doing with teachers, and how that is going. And this tool will also support that work. As you know, you approved a few months ago a MOU agreement for us to expand the coaching, student centered coaching to the secondary level, and so we'll be able to use this as we get that up and going, so that will be super helpful.
Thank you.
Dr. Skeeters, I was just wondering, because Jason took all my questions. No, I'm just kidding. I was just wondering, just in addition to Jason's questions, what stood out about this particular vendor that you liked compared to other vendors who offer a similar service?
So I realize I also missed part of your question, so I'm gonna just quickly bounce back to that. We plan to use this information and share it in our annual program evaluation for professional learning. What we like about it is that they are very responsive to our needs. So if we need the tool to do something, they will work with us to ensure that it will do that. So they will work and help customize to meet our needs. So I think that's probably the thing that's most exciting. I will also say that there are several things that that just take a lot of extra manpower and time. Currently, to be able to look at how our professional learning is trending, like how effective things are. So if we're doing professional learning around a specific topic, in order for us to see if we're doing that, for 5 days throughout the year, how well that's going, we're going to be taking each Google form or Google sheet with the data and compiling that and analyzing it. This is going to do that for us, so it's going to be a lot easier. Also, our administrators and of course, our district professional development committee members will have access to this, so they will also be able to go in there and review how things are going within their own building. We don't have that right now.
And then just a follow-up question. So just when you and I were kind of talking, I had mentioned that I looked at some of the, testimonials from the website, the vendor website. Do we know if any districts who are currently using, did we reach out just to see if, did they have any success stories? Did they, did what this vendor offer, what they offered, did it yield some positive outcomes for them?
So the way that we discovered this tool, because I don't know how we didn't discover it before, was that our directors of elementary and secondary learning, they participate in a regional professional learning network. So they are connected with other professional learning leaders in other districts. This tool was shared with them at that time, and there was a little shock that this is something we hadn't heard of and also weren't using because it's so great. So we did draw on essentially the testimonials of other districts when we started looking at this tool.
Thank you.
President Bryce. Just real quick, Dr. Skeeters, given the dollar size and recognizing this as a tool, did we look at other tools for this from a bidding perspective? Are we considering this like a sole source? Maybe it's its functionality and its customizability was your answer to that? I just want to make sure from a policy perspective.
Yes, it is a sole source, and the fact that it's customizable. It's also the fact that it will do the few things I talked about. It's gonna help us with not just professional learning, so that's huge because we have so many professional learning requests. It's going to alleviate some of the again manual pieces that go along with using a Google form and tracking it that way. It's going to help us with the data. That's going to be huge, but also it combines that with the new teacher mentor tool and the coaching tool. And right now, those things are scattered all over the place. So we're going to be able to bring those things in and also produce data from those, which we aren't doing and can't do very well right now. So the customization and what this offered. And again, it's a sole source, is why we selected it.
Any more questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay. Motion passes. Okay, we need a motion to adjourn open session.
So moved. Second.
President Bryce, if I may.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thanks. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Meeting's adjourned.